Okay. Everybody is ready?
We're all ready.
Okay. Now let us begin our metta meditation first. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings,
one should cultivate a boundless heart.
one should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. With this very wonderful, noble thought, let us begin our practice of mindfulness. Keep your mind focused on your breathing without using words or concepts, or without thinking of the past or the future. Simply pay simple, bare attention to your breathing and notice the breath touching the rims of your nostrils as you breathe in, and then you notice the chest area expanding, abdominal area expanding. As you breathe out, these areas contract and you notice the breath leaving your nostrils. As you breathe in and out like this, you notice there is a brief pause when inhaling completes and exhaling completes. Let them be so, don't try to stop there. Focus mind on this pause or exaggerate it. Don't manipulate your breath or the pause. Let them be as they are. Let them occur. And then you notice the feeling of your breath. You notice the perception, your thoughts, intention, and consciousness also change as you breathe in and when you breathe out. The same feeling, perception, thought, and awareness or consciousness that you notice when you breathe in will no longer be there when you breathe out. New feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness arises. Just notice this happening. This happens without your control, without your intention. They just happen. And then as you see this happening, as they happen, your breath becomes calm, relaxed. The body becomes calm and relaxed. The mind becomes calm and relaxed. And then you see the mind cannot hold on to anything. Whatever arises passes away. Then you notice that is the letting go of mental state. letting go. You don't hold on to anything. You don't do anything except paying attention to whatever is happening. Then also you notice that you whatever anger, resentment can arise in the mind does not arise at all because you are not thinking of the past, thinking of the future or events that cause resentment or disappointment or anger. So the rigidity disappears, the body becomes relaxed, mind becomes relaxed. As you feel peaceful, the feeling of metta arises in your mind. That is a very natural development. And then as we practice this meditation, particularly for those who are suffering, and generally for all of us, we practice this. Then compassion arises in our mind. Then restlessness and worry fades away. And then we notice all this happening as they do happen. There is no agitation, excitement. Your sleepiness and drowsiness fade away as you get energetic, seeing the truth and reality and experience. And then arises a moment of clarity in your mind, trust and faith in your mind, because you see these results happening in yourself, within yourself. You are not borrowing it from someone, nor do you think of what was in books, but you experience them in your own practice. Then confidence arises in you that you can do this. With all this, you gain joy, happiness. When happiness arises, the mind gains concentration. That is what the Buddha very correctly, wisely mentioned. Samahitam chittam yata bhutang pajanati. Concentrated mind knows things as they really are. Things here are our body, feeling, perceptions, thought, consciousness. They all work together as a unity, but we notice them all without any exception change. We notice them changing, and that is what we want to know. When we see them changing, we remain even more peaceful and happy. Everything is in a state of flux, moving and moving and moving, arising and passing away, arising and passing away, arising and passing away. dukkha patta cha nidukkha, bhaya patta cha nibhaya, soka patta cha nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this very noble thought in mind, let us try to spend the rest of our this morning session answering questions. My friend Brian reads the questions and I answer them. Okay.
Bhante, this is a question I think most of us have pondered at one time or another. The Buddha teaches that the path to enlightenment is a path of renunciation. The person who seeks enlightenment seeks to escape samsara, not to repair samsara. But at the same time, it seems that the practice of loving friendliness and compassion leads us to selflessly help others in need, and so to be actively engaged in the world of samsaric existence. Is there a tension here? What is the balance between renunciation of and engagement in samsara?
I think that's a good question. You can do all, you are very compassionate, as I repeat every day, those doctors, nurses, and those very generous people, they do all these things without expecting anything in return. That is how we have to practice our generosity, mindfulness, and develop our wisdom. Uh, while being in samsara, could you ask him to stop it? While being in samsara, uh, and doing what we do without expecting anything in return. That is the key word. Without expecting anything in return, we do all this. For instance, you practice metta. We practice compassion. We appreciate somebody's success. We maintain a equanimity, whether gaining, losing, becoming famous or not famous, and happiness, unhappiness, blame and praise, and all this we experience, we become aware of them, and knowing that all these are impermanent. Impermanent. Gain is impermanent, loss is impermanent, and fame is impermanent, and so forth. All these are impermanent. Knowing their impermanent nature, we understand what we are doing. Practicing metta. Practicing metta is called unconditional metta. That means we practice metta without expecting them to return our metta by practicing themselves. We don't even expect that. Uh, it is just like if you expect something, you may say, I practice metta for you if you do such and such. So that is not the real practice, metta practice. So in samsara, while living in samsara, existing in samsara, not wishing to renew samsara, perpetuate samsara, recycle samsara, so to say. We do what we are supposed to do without greed, without hatred, and without delusion. Therefore, every intentional action we do with this intention of letting go. That is called nekkhamma sankappa. Nekkhamma sankappa. Thought of letting go of recognition, letting go of fame, letting go of reward, profit when we practice. Expecting something in return and profit and gain and so forth is the material approach with the attitude of materiality or gaining something material. If we want to liberate from samsara, we live in this world, we eat, drink, meet people and do whatever we are supposed to do. We do this with keeping this in mind, letting go of our greed, letting go of our hatred, letting go of our delusion. With this attitude, this intention, we do whatever we do. And if you build up tension, for instance, how can I do such and such because so and so is so nasty? So and so, I cannot live with this so and so. I cannot live in the same house with so and so. I cannot see so and so. If you have this kind of mentality, you are not practicing Dhamma. You are not practicing meditation. You are not practicing metta. You are just wasting time, pretending. You are pretending, not practicing. And therefore, there has to be a lot of patience, a lot of understanding, a lot of compassion, great mindfulness when you live in samsara, if you want to liberate yourself from samsara. Anytime any of these negative things arises in mind, immediately let it go. Immediately. It is very natural that this unwholesome negative state can arise because we have not attained enlightenment. And therefore, knowing that they are there, as Asa, Anu said, they are there. Knowing that they are there, we should not pretend to show off that I am practicing, I am meditating, I am doing this and that, I don't talk, I observe noble silence. All these are pretensions, not real practice. And therefore, I have seen this. I have seen this. And therefore, perhaps you might have seen this everywhere. And therefore, if you really want to practice meditation, want to liberate from samsara, you do what you are supposed to do without expecting anything in return, without having any negative thought in mind. That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked me this question.
And a very good answer, if I may say.
I don't know.
Bhante, could you please advise on how important how important is present moment awareness, and what does a loss of present moment awareness signify? When doing an activity, the mind is engrossed in a thought and has total unawareness of the activity being done. For instance, when routinely chanting puja day and night, a thought arises in the mind, and the mind is not aware of the chant from beginning to the middle to the end. Is this the underlying tendency of ignorance?
Sure, that is true. Not underlying tendency of ignorance, underlying tendency of desire, underlying tendency of resentment, uh, kamasava, bhavisabha, anusaya, raga anusaya, dosa anusaya, moha anusaya, and so forth. These are three underlying tendencies, raga, dosa, moha. When you are chanting, chanting is one of the 5 ways of attaining liberation. You can see in Anguttara Nikaya, in the, I think, volume 4, number 4. That's called Pancha Vimuttayatana Sutta. The discourse name is Pancha Vimuttayatana Sutta. 5 ways of liberating oneself. So chanting is one of the 5. When you chant, you must first make up your mind why you want to chant. You want to chant not to hear your beautiful voice, or not others. Not you don't want others to enjoy your beautiful voice, or to record it and to make money, or to become famous. These are not the purposes that you should keep in mind when you chant. You chant provided you chant correctly, right thing. If you chant, normally we chant the qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. There are many different things composed by very pious, wise, ancient teachers. They have composed many chantings and suttas for chanting, and selected some suttas. And all these suttas that they have selected for chanting describe the qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. When you focus your mind on the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, you see their truth and purity, and your utmost sincerity, faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, you chant. And your entire mind should be focused on these qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. If mind wanders while you are chanting, immediately bring it back and bring back your mind and put on the track of chanting. Keep chanting and chanting. And then the more you chant, focusing your mind on the meaning of chanting, the meaning becomes even more clear in your mind. As the meaning becomes clearer and clearer, you try to assume those meaning, adapt those meaning, adapt those things into your life. For instance, I tell you one thing. We chant the qualities of the Dhamma. This is very simple example. There are many. You can elaborate this example or apply it to other areas of chanting. You chant the qualities of the Dhamma. The first quality of Dhamma is Swakata, well expounded. Well expounded. It is well expounded because what the Buddha expounded from the moment he attained enlightenment and passed away for 45 years, he taught the truth. He discovered the truth, he expounded the truth, and then he explained the truth. And this truth does not change according to time and space and from person to person. It doesn't change. Everything changes. This truth does not change because it is the truth. Truth cannot change. Truth cannot become untrue. True, if it is true, it is not like word perfect or and something like that. Today it is true, tomorrow it is not. Or some kind of scientific discoveries. Today they discover very wonderful things, and 10 years later they change their mind and find something else. The truth is not like that. Truth is truth. For instance, uh, when greed arises, suffering arises. This is the truth. If whenever greed arises, suffering arises. And this truth is called dependent origination. My talks all these days are on dependent origination. You just experiment it within yourself. Ask yourself. And 45 years Buddha taught the truth. Suffering is there. Why the suffering is there? Because of our greed, our ignorance, our hatred. Ask yourself, when you are hateful, are you happy? That instant you are unhappy. So this is very simple example. Swakhata, well expounded. Well expounded means he spoke the truth, unchangeable, undeniable truth. So when you chant anything, that must be the qualities of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. If you take each quality of the Dhamma, there are 6 qualities, each of them, and very, very mindfully study it. Study. And then the more you study, more you chant, knowing the meaning, the more you become delighted, happy. You even gain concentration. While chanting, you even gain concentration. And then you begin to see even more deeply, the truth of the first word, swakat. That means things are changing. Things are changing. So, dependent origination and impermanent are unchangeable truth. Change, impermanent can never become permanent. Dependent origination does not become anything otherwise. So, like this, you do the chanting with full understanding. If the mind wanders here and there, immediately bring it. So if you are chanting every day, please look at the words you are reciting, look at the meaning. If you don't understand, ask somebody and learn the meaning of your chanting, and then you will see your chanting will be very, very meaningful, profitable. All day long you experience this calm, peaceful, happy experience. Okay? Next question.
Yeah. Bhante, in the third noble truth of the cessation of craving, in the 60 places where craving would arise, if one is able to understand and practice the cessation of all 60 places, how would the loss of present moment awareness affect the spiritual practice?
I think this is also a good question. These 60 places are not stuck somewhere and lock it for you to open from periodically and look at it and close it again. That is not the way. These 60 places arises at any moment, day or night. You look at your mind. When you see something, you see many things, you hear many sounds, you smell, you taste, you touch, and you think. Is there any time you are not doing any of them? Even in sleep, you have dreams. In dreams, what do? You recycle what you have seen, heard, smelled, touched, and tasted and thought during the daytime, or some years ago, or the same day. So you bring them back to your conscious mind and key. In there you see, even in dream, greed can arise, fear can arise, hatred can arise, uh, attachment can arise, lust can arise, all these arise. So, uh, greed can arise. Buddha mentioned only 60 places where greed can arise. He did not mention the same 60 place, mention how hatred, how confusion can arise these 60 places. He used only one, greed. All others also can arise in these 60 places. Friends, we are overwhelmed with these defilements as they arise through our senses. So, every moment you look at your mind, every moment you look at your mind, not to blame you, not to praise you, not to be proud, not to increase your what do you call conceit, but fairly and squarely, impartially look at your mind. Look at your mind. Then you will see what is arising there, what is there. If it is negative, greedy, hateful, and so forth, mental state, immediately become mindful of its danger. What is the danger? It is impermanent. It is unsatisfactory. It is without any self. Keep this mantra in your mind. This is wordless mantra, not repeating with words. It is just looking at the mind without using words to recognize, to acknowledge what is there. I think I have mentioned this very clearly in many ways in the mindfulness in plain English many years ago. I have to repeat it again and again and again because this is what we have to do. Any given moment, we can look at it so that we can immediately clean it, let it go. This virus, immediately wash. Take soap and wash it and use some kind of some disinfectant and clean it. Then the mind remains clean. That's what I suggest. All of us do, not only you, I also must do that. I must do that. I am doing that. And I want you to do that, and you will see how happy you will be all day long. Okay.
Thank you, Bhante. Next question. You were sharing about how one can abandon taints by wise seeing of the wisdom eye, Sabasava Sutta. One should avoid unmindful thinking of oneself in the past, for the future, and in the present. May I ask, what is the difference between mindfulness and reflection? Some people engage in self-reflection, which helps them to think about one's experiences, actions, feelings, and responses in order to learn from it? Would reflecting on one's life be living in accordance with the Dhamma?
I say, I, for want of better English term, I use the word mindfulness. And mindfulness itself is not 100% perfect word. I use, sometimes we use mindful reflection, yoniso manasikara. I think yoniso manasikara is even better term. Uh, Manasikara is mana is mind. Manasi is in what do you call in locative case. Manasi means in the mind. Kara means doing. So doing in the mind. Manasi kara. So that sounds very odd in English, even in any language, to say doing in the mind. So mind manasikara may be translated into English as reflection. Reflection. Yoniso means from the root. Yoni means origin, birth canal, coming out of womb. That the opening is called yoni in plain English. And that is the beginning of our contacting this external world. I mean, I say this in a very plain, crude language for us to understand what yoni means. Yoni so means from the root. From the root. There are 6 roots. Greed, hatred, and delusion on the negative side, non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion on the positive side. When mental state arises, a thought arises, we must see whether that thought arose from the root of greed or root of hatred, root of delusion, or root of generosity or letting go, root of what you call renunciation. Yes, the word generosity, letting go, renunciation, all these are synonymous. Synonymously I use. So ask ourselves, is this thought, or is this thought the thought of renunciation, letting go, generous, not holding, not greed in this thought? We must see. Then hatred. Instead of hatred, opposite of hatred, we say metta. Metta. Ask ourselves, is the root of this thought metta, or is the root of this thought is wisdom, non-delusion, non-delusion. So, whenever the thought, that is why we have to be mindful. When you are mindful, we immediately can become not only aware of impermanence, but also become aware of the root of this thought, whether it is the thought arises from greed, hatred, or delusion, or non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. This is how we look at ourselves, at our thoughts, at any given moment to understand the particular mental state. If it is non-greed, by all means we cultivate that thought and try to develop that thought, increase that thought. If it is not hatred, non-hatred, loving friendliness, try to develop it, cultivate it. As I mentioned earlier, without expecting anything in return. If it is the thought of coming from wisdom, that means if the thought arises from knowing, noticing, understanding impermanence, knowing impermanence is called wisdom. Udayabbe jnana. Jnana means knowledge or wisdom. That is why Buddha said jnanang udapadi, panya udapadi, and so forth in the first sermon. So, when thought arises from the root of wisdom, there definitely we must see impermanence. Definitely we must see impermanence. If we don't see impermanence, we are not wise. The thought is not arisen from the root of wisdom. And therefore, I think, is there any other question?
No, that's it for the day.
Okay, for today this may be enough. And my friend did very good job read, reading all this thought, all these questions. Now, friends, it is time to wind down. And I want to repeat my everyday wish, that is, may all those who are suffering from this COVID-19 all over the world, not in one particular place, be free from this disease, recover very rapidly and return to regular, normal life. And unfortunately, because of this COVID-19, some individuals passed away. And also thousands of them passed away all over the world. Some of them even our friends, uh, and their relatives, friends, spouses, and so forth are still grieving over the death of those individuals. May they recover from this grief through their meditation practice and understanding the Dhamma. There are people who are trying to help these COVID-19 patients all over the world, thousands of them, rather millions of them, and they are among them who are trying to help are doctors, nurses, and medical staffs, those others who are facilitating them to practice. May they all be healthy, strong, well, and to continue their very noble selfless service. And there are others who are trying to finance them in many places to continue their support. Others are trying to find a vaccine to get rid of this. And there are others, leaders in the world, many leaders, very compassionate, understanding leaders make right and wise decisions to curtail this, reduce this, and have a normal life. May they live long in very good health. There are other leaders who are not that wise. We want to wish them to be wise, compassionate, understanding, and have wisdom to make wise decisions for the benefit of all these beings, and may they all live long in very good health. And with this wish, I like to conclude this morning's answering questions.
Oh, and tomorrow's Monday, right?
Yeah,
Tomorrow's Monday, so we have no program tomorrow.
yeah.
No morning session, no evening session.
I think they all know that.
Okay, just a